Oh, wonderful. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to this session. My name is Sachneet, and I lead the solutions architecture team at Impetus. In this session, I would be talking about how we are helping our customers move their legacy EDW, ETLs, Hadoop, and analytics to the Databricks platform in an automated, accelerated, and reliable way. We have a solution accelerator called LeapLogic that does it. I will speak about how we approach such a modernization in the coming slides. And I also have a demo for you. First, quickly, about Impetus, we are delivering intelligent enterprises through innovative solutions and our expertise in cloud engineering, data engineering, and GenAI. We have solution accelerators that we tailor for our customers to help them on all the aspects of whether that's data engineering, GenAI, or any other custom solutions that they want to build. We have a global presence. We've been serving more than 20 plus Fortune 100 customers, and we've won a lot of global technology awards as well. Our partnership with Databricks, we have won the Migration Partner of the Year last year and this year as well. And this is an acknowledgement and testament of the great work we've been doing in the modernization space. We have two brick builder solutions. One is LeapLogic. I will be talking about that today. The second one is UCMA, which is the Unity Catalog Migration Accelerator. We have a session about that tomorrow. I will share more details towards the end. And lastly, we are the lead consulting partner with Databricks. Everybody is talking about GenAI, and I want to look at it from a modernization lens as well. So if you're looking at GenAI, but you also have certain modernizations to do, I think the first step towards leveraging GenAI is making sure that you have a reliable and error-free modernization. And we'll talk about that, how we are enabling it. First, some of the questions that get asked when we do such a modernization, right? You have a legacy EDW, ETL, Hadoop, or SaaS. The first question is, what should you do about the decades of investments you've already done in your legacy EDW or ETL? You may be running it for 20 years. Should you just throw that away? Or is there a way to preserve that business logic? The second question is, how should you move it? See, you designed your solutions for your EDW and ETL, keeping in mind their characteristics and features. So those legacy applications were a different world. Databricks or cloud have different features and characteristics. So you cannot really take everything as is. But what do? Do you rewrite everything? Or do you take everything as is? Because these approaches have their own pros and cons. So that's the second important question. The third one is, you cannot get into a modernization journey without knowing how big that effort is. So how do you get to know how much of an effort needs to be put? And the third one is, you want to modernize, but you also don't want to risk your business as usual. So how do you make sure that there is no risk to your business as usual? So this is where we come up with the first important step, which is the balanced approach. Our first step to the modernization is to ensure that we are taking an approach which suits your legacies. Now, if I have to put this into a general sense, out of our 10 years of doing modernizations, we have seen that most of the legacies can be taken to the cloud with 80% auto transformation based on some patterns, which doesn't mean we are taking things as is. We are saying we're going to take your business logic and then auto transform it to the modern platform. But then there are certain pieces that need to be re-engineered and rewritten, right? Those could be examples of ETL native functions. They may not have a one-to-one mapping on Databricks platform. The other one could be things like maybe cursors, right? You don't have a cursor on cloud. So how do you do that? So those are some of the pieces that need re-engineering and re-architecting. But if I have to summarize it, it's more of an 80-10-10 rule, wherein 80% of the business logic can be auto-transformed, and then 10% needs to be re-engineered, and another 10% needs to be rewritten. This is a balanced approach, rather than just going for a re-architecture that may take years to do, or maybe taking everything as is, which could be garbage in, garbage out. So that's the first step towards deciding on the right approach. And now comes to the methodology. How do we approach such modernizations? We have a solution accelerator called LeapLogic, which brings a lot of acceleration through automation through all these phases. We take a 4-step methodology, which is starting with an assessment, which is looking at your legacies. Now, we need to make a very informed decision on the modernization journey before we start on it, which means that we need to have a right foundation if we have to be successful in that modernization. We can only take that decision if we understand the complexities of the legacies today. If we understand how it's structured and what needs to be done, how much needs to be re-engineered, how much needs to be re-architected and all. So this is where the assessment step helps, where we look at the legacy. What we come out with is a very descriptive explanation of the volumetrics, the complexities, the lineage, the dependency analysis, and also very importantly, the technical debt. Anything that has been running for 10 or 20 years is bound to have technical debt. So we identify that. So assessment is the step where we look at the legacies. Using all that information and insights, we come up with a very informed timeline and estimates and lay the right foundation for us successful modernization. The second step is the transformation, where the actual modernization happens. Here, the LeapLogic solution is able to do up to 95% of work in an automated fashion. What it means is I could give it an Informatica workflow and it could convert that into a DLT notebook. I could give it an Oracle stored procedure and it will create PySpark code for me with up to 95% automation. There is always some manual intervention required, but we don't really sell this tool. We're not trying to sell this tool to you saying it would do 95% automation for you. What we are doing is we are selling the successful migration. We do this as a managed service. After assessment, we'll tell you that your modernization is going to take 6 months to us. It's a fixed timeline, fixed bid from our side, but we are not going to do that manual. We'll do that with our tool. Our tool is going to do, let's say, 90% of the job, but whatever is left is something that we will do and deliver you 100% transformed and validated code. So this is where most of the acceleration comes into the picture, where the tool is able to do a lot of transformation in an automated way. We started with a manual approach. We saw that there are repetitive challenges when you follow a manual approach. Standardization is missing, optimizations are missing, you figure out new challenges, and you are never able to meet your timelines, which affects your business as usual, the budgets, and everything. So this is where an automated way of doing it is more reliable, accelerated, and ensures that you have standardization and optimization. The third step is the validation phase, where we ensure that we validate each and every piece of data, as well as every piece of business logic, making sure whatever you were achieving on your legacy, you are able to achieve on the modern platform as well. And the final step is the operationalization. So we're not going to bring our tool, do the transformations for you, and just give out the code to you and leave. We're going to help you operationalize it. If there has to be a CI/CD pipeline to be built, we'll help you build that. If there has to be parallel runs to be run, we'll run that. So we'll help you achieve that modernization. So this is the 4-step methodology that we follow. Now, how do we achieve all this acceleration that we talk about? We have plotted it against a manual approach because we also started with doing things manually. What you see in manual effort row is the time that we spend in each of these stages if I'm doing this manually, right? Obviously, these stages are important because these are important stages of the modernization. But bringing the tool, we have also highlighted the effort reduction we are able to bring with the automation LeapLogic brings. 40% in the assessment, and then 70 to 80% in transform, and then 20% in validate. Summing it all, comparing it to any manual approach, we are able to achieve 50% acceleration. So I'll just quickly summarize on some of the value adds I just talked about. Reducing the time to consumption by 50 to 75%. Reducing the migration costs because we are able to do it in an accelerated way. Near zero risk in the migration, no risk to the business as usual. We preserve your business logic by 100%. So there's no compromise or dilution to the business logic you have. And we leverage all the optimizations that are available on the Databricks platform. We've also used LeapLogic, where we have helped customers who have been doing their own modernization journey, but were not able to meet their timelines. They had certain renewals in front of them. This is where they brought us in, and we were able to help them out and meet those timelines. Quickly talking about one of the success story of a leading data analytics company. They had a big SaaS footprint, but they were not able to scale it. They were not able to maintain it better. They wanted to implement new use cases, and then the maintenance costs and the license costs were bothering them. This is where we brought in LeapLogic. There was around 1.8 million line of code and around 5,000 SaaS scripts. And most of those were analytic functions. Now, SaaS is being used both in the ETL and the analytics space. But when it comes to the analytics functions, you don't really find one-to-one mapping of those functions on the Databricks platform. This is where we were able to bridge that gap. We were able to build those functions for them and help them achieve the same functionality with better SLAs, with better response times, and also reducing their costs and their maintenance costs. So this is one of the case study where we were able to achieve up to 60% of automation, and that too, not just with ETL, but the analytics functions that I said did not really have a one-to-one mapping. So these are some of the impacts we are able to bring through the acceleration and the automation LeapLogic brings. Now let me take you very quickly to some of the demo. I like to talk about how LeapLogic is able to help in this modernization. Okay, so what you see on the screen is a snapshot of an assessment. I spoke about assessment, right? We'll assess all your legacy, all the artifacts on your legacy. What will come out with is a very comprehensive report out of it. This is what the report would something look like. The first part is looking at the volumetrics, all the queries that you have, all the files that you have. We'll create a summary out of it, right? So you can see 10,000 queries, but we are able to figure out how many of them are unique, how many of them have unique patterns, what statement types are being used, and very importantly, what is the complexity of those business logic artifacts. I may be talking about 1,000 stored procedures, but they may be all simple. And then I may be talking about 100 stored procedures that are very complex. So it's a different kind of effort that it needs, although volumetrics are different, right? So complexity is equally important. Then we are able to figure out how much of technical debt exists. So when you say unmapped files, unused queries, this is the technical debt that we are able to identify that, hey, this is something that you're not using today. Maybe we should just throw that out and we don't need to modernize it. The other things that we are able to highlight is around some of the optimization strategies we should be using. Given it's the Databricks platform, we have scalability at our disposal. So we are able to suggest that, hey, we could break your business logic to leverage the scalability of the Databricks platform. Also leveraging some features and recommending Bloom filters, Z orders, and now we're also implementing the liquid clustering, which is recently being in GA. So this is a snapshot of the assessment report. What you get is a timeline and the effort estimates in a fixed bit that, hey, this is what it's going to take to modernize everything. We are also able to come up with a lineage, right? So the lineage would be all the artifacts that we have today. How are they linked together? How are we going to modernize them together? We are not going to boil the ocean altogether. We're going to divide that into phases so that you get to see how your business logic is getting transformed to Databricks platform. So this is where the lineage analysis and everything is very important. Another example I want to take is for Informatica, right? So if you have Informatica, you have other ETLs. We're going to assess them and we'll come up with comprehensive assessment. But it's just the summary that you see here. The granularity is something like this. For example, for any Informatica workflow or any ETL workflow for that sake, we will be able to break it into all the granular components. Whatever could be contained in an ETL or an EDW, we'll break it down, show you how complex your workloads are with facts and figures, showing you, hey, these are the components being used and this is how complex these are. Now coming to modernization, how do we modernize? So what you see on the screen is one of the modernization pipeline as we created, right? So you'll see migration, you'll see transform, and then you'll see validation. So the tool is able to run all these steps. Migration is more around data and the schema migration. Transformation is where your stored procedures, your ETL codes are converted into Databricks platform. And the validation step runs all the granular validation on your code and your data. An example of what a cell-by-cell validation or a function-based validation would look like, we'll run all these validations in an automated fashion. We could run a cell-by-cell validation, which would mean all the data that has been migrated or all the outputs that have been generated by the code are all validated cell by cell. Another example could be one from for the Informatica migration. Now, Informatica could be something like this, right? So you may have a Informatica workflow, which could be something like this, right? So you have this workflow. So what we do is, you could be using ab initio, you could be using data stage or any other EDL. This is what it looks like. We export it. We export it into a format that we can put into our LeapLogic tool. This is what the exported format looks like. For example, like an XML. We'll feed this XML. Our tool will be able to understand all the logic contained in this Informatica workflow. And what it would generate is something like this. Right, so you will be able to see all the code that is getting generated. I've taken an example. So in Informatica, there was a source qualifier. What would that source qualifier look like in Databricks platform? So it is able to generate all that code. It is all Databricks compatible code. What we deliver can be imported into a Databricks notebook. You could just schedule that as a jobs or attach to it to a workflow. And this is going to deliver you the same what Informatica, Data Stage, or ab initio were doing. A similar example is for, let's say, Oracle or Teradata that you've been running. All those SQL scripts, all those stored procedures would be converted into something like this, which would be optimized, standardized Databricks code. So that's what I wanted to cover on the quick demo side. I know it has been a quick walkthrough of what we do. Feel free to visit us at booth number 113. If you have a specific legacy that you are looking forward to modernizing, or maybe you are at any stage of modernization and have your questions, we would be able to discuss that. We would also be happy to do a specific demo for you. For example, if you are looking at a Vertica or an ab initio or a data stage modernization, we would be able to show you some of the demos on the tool, how we transform all these legacies to the Databricks platform. We're also doing 2 more sessions. Tomorrow, we are doing a breakout session with Brentwood. We really help them in their modernization journey. So we'll be talking with the customer how LeapLogic was able to accelerate in their modernization. And then we have a lightning talk tomorrow, which is around Unity Catalog. We have built a solution accelerator, which is also a brick builder solution, which helps accelerate the adoption of Unity Catalog. So if you're already using Databricks, but you're using, let's say, a Hive Metastore or a Glue Metastore, and you want to move to Unity Catalog, you don't have to do that manually. The UCMA, which is the Unity Catalog Migration Accelerator, is our tool that accelerates this upgrade and this modernization. With that, I thank you for your time. Feel free to visit our booths for more detailed discussions and tune in for the sessions if that interests you. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and enjoy the rest of the event.